welcome to the Midweek Mashed Tattie Sportscast. This is MMA Mash, the weekly mixed martial arts roundup that features all the latest news and reviews from the UFC, One Championship, Bellator, PFL, and so much more. My name is, of course, Mick, and as always, I'm joined at cage side by the man that's more question than answer. It's
Bonjour.
Mr. Paul Kerr.
I missed my mark.
Paul Kerr coming in.
Missed my mark completely. Completely missed my mark.
And of course, the ever controversial Mr. Harvey A. Wait for it, Smith.
What's happening?
I came in too early and he yawns. We're absolutely shite from the goal here, lads.
Outstanding.
Fucking hell. High score.
This is going to be a good one.
My defence is early morning here, okay?
To be fair.
So, today on the show, we will predominantly be covering UFC Vegas 60 and looking ahead to the action next week, which is just Bellator Dublin. But more on that later. We also have a bit of boxing if you want to have a quick chat about it. I don't think there's too much to cover on that, but we might as well just start there, I think. So, without further ado, let's get it on. So, boxing. We had Canelo Alvarez versus Triple G 3 last night for us, Saturday night. Thoughts? Another victory for Canelo? Another decision win?
Yep. It was another day at the... it's another easy day at the office, sorry, for Canelo, I would say. Before the fight, I didn't see it going any other way than what it did. I think potentially Canelo would knock Triple G out, but
Canelo was chatting that up, so he was talking big going into it. He was saying he was going to knock him out.
Mm-hmm. But in the end, he just... I mean, it didn't really look like he actually went for a knockout, though. That's the thing. He just kind of was in there boxing.
Yeah, he just did what Canelo does.
Aye.
Just put in work. Paul, do you have any exciting takes?
I'm going to level with you guys. I did not watch this fight. I did not watch this fight because at this stage I think it's kind of diminishing returns as far as I'm concerned. Like, what am I going to learn new about this matchup? For me, it's not a fight that I'm not interested in. I feel like this is kind of coming to the kind of later stages of both guys' careers. Like, what does Triple G do now really that's worth watching as a fight fan? I mean, obviously he'll be known as somebody who is would legend be fair for Triple G at his weight class? Would he be considered a legend? Aye. Would you go as far as legend?
For sure,
both of them would be legends, 100%.
Aye. So there's obviously that, but I think it's a matchup that's been exhausted at this point. So it really, I knew it was happening. I didn't even bother my arse, lads.
Fair play. I think that's just a sad fact, a sad truth about this matchup and these two guys at this stage of their career. Like, I think there's an easy argument that Canelo's failed attempt to go up and challenge Bivol, that led to questions being asked and sort of, what does he have left? And it didn't look bad against Triple G, but like it didn't look like there was any improvements for the other couple of times he's fought Triple G, even with Triple G getting a bit older and slower, which is kind of damning. If Canelo was to be believed when he's talking about his fitness being the issue against Bivol, then surely coming back down in weight, training hard for this fight, you would expect him to come out and make a statement. And all he really did was start a bit faster than the last fight, and that, that's it. Other than that, it was just the same kind of performance again. So it doesn't fill me with any confidence of him trying to go and rematch Bivol in the future or anybody else at light heavyweight. So it by no means means that Canelo is done. I think, at his kind of optimal weight, when he's on the ball, he's still the best in the world. And one of the best pound for pound. He's a fantastically skilled boxer. but I think he's kind of reached his ceiling. For better or for worse. And Triple G, like, he's had a great career. He will go down as a legend, like multi-weight champion, some great knockouts, some fantastic highlight fights and stuff. Wee bit of shame for him that it's like many of the greats that they come along at a time when there's somebody that's just that wee rung above them on the ladder, and you don't necessarily they don't necessarily get the shine on them that they would. Like Triple G for his era would be the absolute man if Canelo Alvarez wasn't a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But through Triple G's rise, sort of most of it, Canelo's been this like young prospect, and then he's went on to become this epic undisputed champion. And you could say that about, you find any of the greats, there'll be somebody that was just behind them that didn't quite get the notoriety because of it. Sorry, it was a somewhat enjoyable fight, but like Paul said, very little meaning to it.
Mm-hmm.
Aye.
It's kind of my summation.
Aye.
Anything else on the boxing? Shall we just dive into the MMA?
You know what Canelo means?
No.
Enlighten us.
Unsurprisingly, I do not know.
Cinnamon.
Oh, of course, because he's aye.
Mm-hmm.
Had to do with his hair colour, obviously.
I don't know. I don't know how we got the nickname, but I just know that it's cinnamon.
Well, his hair's more ginger than it is brown, so I don't know how that ties in with cinnamon.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Saul Cinnamon Alvarez.
There you go, man.
Because he's slightly spicy. Like, I don't know how
his first name was Santos or something. No.
I don't know. I would have to consult the old Wikipedia for that one, my friend.
You're going a bit deep for me as well.
Aye.
There you go. Santos Saul Alvarez Barragan. Oh, fuck knows. There you go.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, now you know that.
Harvey Smith, ladies and gentlemen.
Right, moving on.
MMA,
UFC Vegas 60. Let's have at it. Before we go into the fights that happened, let's first talk about the fight that didn't. Not sure if you're aware of this, guys, but Aspen Ladd was supposed to be fighting Sarah McMahon on this card.
Mm-hmm.
However, Aspen Ladd, for the 5th time in her career, missed weight. And that fight was scrapped.
Cheeky.
I can neither confirm nor deny whether or not Aspen Ladd is a dirty wee jakey. However, she is in dire straits with the UFC at this stage. Having missed weight for the 5th time.
You're kind of fucked, aye.
I was going to say, like, you're aye.
So this is her
what
fifth career weight miss, 4th time in the UFC. It's no looking great. After the last one, Dana White spoke quite in a frustrated manner and talked about how she was going to be pretty much forced to go up a weight, up to featherweight. When you look at this one in particular, like, it's not that bad. Like, she's weighed in at 138, right? So 2 pounds over the max limit for bantamweight 135. But as I say, that's the 5th time in her career, 4th time in the UFC. That's why it's a big issue. And I've not seen any confirmation on why the bout was scrapped directly. Like, obviously indirectly, it's because of the weight cut, or the weight miss, I should say. But I don't know if it was the UFC that scrapped the bout, the commission, or if Sarah McMahon has rightfully turned the fight doing it as a catch weight bout. I'm not entirely sure. But either way, the fight was scrapped. You only get so many chances at that. I mean, ultimately, that's costing the UFC money because Sarah McMahon has to get paid her show money because she's turned up midweight.
Mm-hmm.
And they've obviously put money into supplying them with kit, doing photo shoots, interviews, etc. for marketing. all the media stuff. So they're investing money in the two of them fighting, and then Aspen Ladd's making an arse of that because she's not disciplined enough to properly go through the weight cutting procedures. I'm sure there'll be excuses made about health and her body not responding as they expected it to, and they did the same thing that they've did in the past, and she made weight in the past, blah blah blah. But realistically, the fighter's number one job isn't to fight. The number one job is to turn up at the contracted weight to make it to the fight, and then whatever they can do in the ring, cage, etc. Like, that's the icing in the cake. That's where they make a name for themselves and get bonuses and stuff. But aye, if you can't turn up on weight, then you're really falling at the first hurdle. So yeah, she needs to get a handle on that. So the actual fights that did take place, let's move on to the undercard. It was a kind of mixed card, I've got to say. UFC Vegas 60. It was like some really good fights, some kind of boring fights, some crazy knockouts, submissions, cut-related finishes, but then also some kind of lackluster decisions. It was quite a mix of stuff.
Why?
The night started out with Nicholas Mota defeating Cameron Van Camp, and that was a first round TKO, and that was a hell of a way to open the card. That was a really fun fight, and a big TKO win for Mota. Then we had Javid Basharat defeating Tony Gravely in a unanimous decision. Not a bad fight, but no the most exciting fight either. We then moved on to Gillian Robertson defeating Maria Agapova. I'm kind of expecting big things for Agapova. I feel like she's got a lot of talent. She's got a lot more to give, but the grappling side of things is no her strong point. And Gillian Robertson was able to eventually catch her in a choke.
Good.
And a real naked choke, yeah. Which we'll get to in 1 wee second, because I do want to talk about that. Paul, did you see that fight, Paul?
Come back to me when it's the main card.
Right. Do me a favour. Quickly Google it, YouTube it, whatever. Gillian Robertson versus Maria Agapova. Just watch the finish, right? Just so that I can get your take on the finish. So I basically, it wasn't that exciting a fight. It was just Robertson continually going for takedowns and Agapova trying to strike while on the outside and no landing much because Robertson was just coming into range, shooting for takedown, coming into range, shooting takedown. Aye, so it wasn't great to watch, to be honest. And it showed a serious hole in Agapova's game. She's needing to make some improvements in the grappling. And I mean, Robertson's been in that kind of position before in fights. Like, her skill set is very much grappling based. Like, she's gonna wrestle. She's gonna look for submissions. That's what she does. So I suppose no harm to her. She's doing what she needs to do to win the fight. She's not going to win a striking battle with Agapova, so that's what she had to do. Now, round 2, 2 minutes and 19, the finish came. Real naked choke, as we said. It was quite the visual.
That ain't nice, man.
Agapova no really doing the necessary things to defend the choke, allowed herself to be caught in a very, very deep real naked choke, and she basically held on as long as she could before she went unconscious. And she was basically convulsing when she got choked out. It's one of the more kind of brutal visuals I've seen for a choke. Usually a choke's quite uneventful. You go unconscious, you go floppy or stiff. Some people go floppy, some people go stiff. And then after 10 to 20 seconds, you wake back up thinking, what the hell just happened? You're a wee bit confused. After about a minute, you kind of remember what went on. You go back to normal, everything's fine. However, on this occasion, Agapova got choked out bad to the point that she was like foaming at the mouth and convulsing for a good few seconds, and it took a few minutes for her to kind of come back to and sort of go back to normal-ish. And even then, I think she still had to be kind of steadied on her feet and stuff. I've never really seen somebody go like that for just getting choked out.
That was pretty manky, I'm not going to lie. That's something.
She's a trooper. She's a warrior. She said, I'm not fucking tough.
She's tough. Definitely tough.
If I die, I die.
Is it Bialo? I mean, I can't even work. It's hard for the ref to even tell. Like, he intervenes the minute she stops moving, but I think she's in trouble way before that.
Aye.
Oh,
she's just making movements that would suggest that she isn't. Which she's probably trying to do in order not to lose the fight, but fuck, man. I mean, what? Fuck being a ref. What are you meaning? I mean, what are you honestly? I've been watching it on loop since we started talking about it. I don't know. Fuck being a ref is my take on it, lads.
The ref can't really step in any sooner than they did.
What can he honestly do?
Without being accused of stopping the fight early, anyway.
Exactly.
It's not a great position for anybody. I just hope she's all right and there's no lasting effects for it. I can't think there would be, but the fact that she was convulsing the way she was does make me worry slightly that something happened. But anyway, she did seem to be happy enough after the fight. She was congratulating Robertson and stuff. So moving on, Trey Ogden versus Daniel Zellhuber. Go with that. Ogden versus Zellhuber. It was next up. Fair amount of hype I discovered post podcast last week. I was reading into the fights and stuff a wee bit more. Discovered there was quite a bit of hype on Daniel Zellhuber coming in as a 12-0 undefeated prospect. And unfortunately it didn't quite work out for him. Trey Ogden beat him by unanimous decision. It was a decent fight, but it was kind of uneventful. I don't know if that was Zellhuber getting a wee bit kind of shell-shocked under the big lights, or maybe it was just a step up in competition. Don't quite know. Maybe it was just a fantastic performance for Ogden to kind of shut him down. I can't really answer any of that. It was an okay fight, and it was a unanimous decision win for Trey Ogden. Next out, we had Loma Lukebunmi defeating Denise Gomez. Another unanimous decision. This one a bit more entertaining, though, I've got to say. This was quite a kind of back and forth fight, a bit of everything, striking, grappling, etc. Fairly fun fight. Ultimately unanimous decision for Lukebunmi. Then we had Trevin Giles defeating Lewis Koski via, again, unanimous decision. That one, I mean, it turned out not too bad, the fight, kind of more towards the end, but the first round in particular, I think it was over a minute before him to throw a strike. They just kind of circled one another. It was a very, very slow start to the fight. God. Both guys, I think, were looking to counter-strike, which typically results in a bit of a boring fight, and that's kind of what happened. As I say, as the fight went on, they picked it up a wee bit. A bit more action in the second, and then I think the third was about the busiest round. But it was a bit of a piss break matchup. Just for whatever reason, they just, I guess styles make fights, or in this case, they didn't really make much of a fight. I think that's a bit what happened.
Aye. It wasn't the greatest fight.
No. Then, finishing out the undercard, we had Damon Jackson versus Pat Sabatini. And this one was just over a minute. It took round one. Hell of a performance for Damon Jackson. Quite the kind of sad story to come along with it. So as it transpires, Damon Jackson lost his brother last week. Found out the news on Tuesday of fight week. And had to kind of deal with the emotions and make it to the fight. So when he got into the fight, that was just that. I mean, if you've seen the fight and wondered why he was fighting like a man possessed, there was a time limit on how long he had to finish him or whatever. That's why. I mean, that was just everything coming out, and he just went for it. He went in a rager, landed a massive front kick, and then just grabbed a hold of Sabatini and beat the shit out of him until the referee stopped it.
Yep.
So, man, kind of. Heart goes out to him and his family, man. That's horrible.
That would suck. That would really suck.
I don't know any details on what happened, and I don't really want to read into it, if I'm being honest. Just a sad thing. Ultimately, got a performance of the night bonus for his TKO. He's won there, so that's something, I guess.
It all makes more sense now. Right? It's like when he was in the ring after, and he's pointing up in his family, and that was there. Like,
he's pointing up his family. His family were all emotional. He then sat down for a few minutes against the cage and kind of cried a bit and let some of the emotion out. Yep. Damn shame, man. Some kind of interest with that is that Sabatini was a guy, he was on a hell of a run coming into this, and he was the favourite. And the stoppage came via verbal submission, which is quite rare. Basically, it got to the point where Damon Jackson kind of had the back mount, and he was wailing down the punches when Sabatini effectively looked at the ref and said something. I don't know what he said exactly. I've had enough. I give up. Save me. Don't know what the words were.
Help.
Right, went down as a verbal submission. So, main card opener. Anthony Hernandez picking up a win over Marc-Andre Barriault.
Picked up Barriault a few times as well.
What, sorry?
He physically picked up Barriault as well.
Indeed.
He fucking dumped him and nearly broke his neck.
Holy sweet Christ. Ouch.
So, technical submission win. It's noted as. It was an arm triangle choke in round 3. It was pretty much, the story was all about the kind of crisp boxing and the wrestling, relentless wrestling of Hernandez. And Barriault, he's tough and he hung in there, but Hernandez was all over him.
This was about as dominant as it gets. I thought his stages, I really quite enjoyed Hernandez.
Now, Paul, something that I think it was you that mentioned that there was a particular slam or takedown, if you rather got that, where Hernandez basically picked. It was almost like a mat return, but the way he put Barriault down, he basically spiked him on his head.
It was pretty much a tombstone,
and it was brutal. I don't think I've ever seen a slam like that in MMA.
You could see the impact, his whole body jerked with the impact of the hit, man. It was easy to feel sore this morning. Sweet
there's
Christ.
no way that was good for the old neck.
Definitely not.
The first thing that went through my head when I saw that, though, was that I think that was illegal. Because it's in the rule, it's in the sort of unified rules of MMA that you can't drop or spike an opponent on their head. And I'm curious to know what the ref's perspective was on that incident. I'm pretty sure he didn't mean it in any way. I don't think he was intending to put him down head first. But I'm curious to know if the fight should have been stopped at that point to check on the health of Barriault and see if he could continue after that slam.
I think probably because his hands went in first. If I remember correctly. Maybe.
I don't think he tries to spike him head first. I think he tries to return him, but it's because Barriault leans forward as he lifts him. He puts himself in the position.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's trying to evade or he's trying to roll out it or what he thinks he's trying to do, but I think a bit of it's on him as well for how he lands in his head.
Right, so I've just looked up the wording, right? So this is how it's written. Spiking an opponent to the canvas on his or her head or neck. And it says in brackets, see pile driver.
It's definitely
Right.
So I think what the rule there is meaning is that it has to be very much a deliberate action of picking somebody up, turning them upside down,
Aye.
and dropping them straight down. So I think this would be deemed as like a freak incident.
I think that's more what it is, as opposed to a deliberate act. Like he's clearly tried to force him down on his neck or his head. It's just where they are. I mean, obviously they're up against the fence there. Like, and I don't think Barry helps himself particularly in the way he kind of curls his body forward. Like he kind of. I know it's easy to say now, the night after the fight and with no fight experience of my own, but I don't know. I don't think it's deliberate. It just what a fucking impact.
Aye.
It didn't half make a highlight reel.
It was quite wild to see, to be honest. I'd be interested to see what his MRI looks like after that. That's got to have compressed some discs.
Be interested to know what his height is after that. He's probably a couple inches shorter. Went in the cage 6'1", come out 5'9".
One thing to say that I'll say on it though is, like, I was quite kind of shocked and, dare I say, appalled at the commentary. Like, they were laughing and joking about the fact that the guy just got spiked in his head and how like brutal it was. When there was no like, oh, I hope he's all right. That looked quite severe. You know what I mean? DC and Paul Felder in particular, like they just thought it was funny. Which I mean, I'm sure again, name Alice and what they were saying and stuff, but I was a wee bit shocked at their kind of reaction to that.
Shocked by that.
So moving on. Next out, we had some heavyweights. One guy very much a heavyweight. The other guy could be a cruiserweight or a light heavyweight if he chose to be. It was Rodrigo Nascimento versus Tanner Boser. Nascimento picking up a split decision. Nascimento picking up a split decision victory. So Tanner Boser weighing in at 229 pounds, and Nascimento weighing in at, I believe, 261 pounds.
Damn, man, that's quite a difference.
Indeed. No, obviously that's kind of something that comes along with the heavyweight division being quite a wide spectrum of poundage. You can weigh in at anything from 206 to, well, 207 I suppose, right up to 266. Yeah, it's an interesting look at, like, the reasons for weight cutting, I suppose. Like, it's an interesting kind of case study. Like, Tanner Boser was a lot faster and more agile than Nascimento, but primarily because of the style of Nascimento, the weight advantage that he had really played a big factor in the end. Well, the grappling.
What did you think about the decision?
I didn't agree with it. I certainly
didn't.
I thought Boser won the fight. I thought that he won the first. I gave the second to Nascimento, and then I thought that Boser did enough in the third before and after the takedowns and ground control that he won the fight. He won the third round based on that, and then that ultimately gives him the fight 2-1, in my opinion.
The note I wrote in this fight was, big fat guy sits on top of other guy, that equates win. It's another week where I fucking hate UFC judging. Basically, if you want to be fine with judging in UFC, jab loads and sit on top of somebody, just sound. Like that is the checklist. Do you jab? Yes. How much do you jab? All the fucking time. Great. Are you quite heavy? Aye. Sit on top of him. Don't move. You'll be fine, mate. Like, it's bullshit. Utter bullshit.
Aye.
Sorry, my 2 cents are just thrown straight in the floor aggressively there, but I did not enjoy the result.
I can't say I fully agree with you, but at the same time, I can totally see where you're coming from with that. You know,
I'm making points.
Aye. Yes, it's like, I mean, when you analyse the rules, the judging criteria for MMA. We spoke about this before, like the striking's supposed to come first, and then grappling should only really count when it's like clear ground control and there's no striking advantage to either guy. Then they look at the amount of time of ground control, and part of that's then like trying to advance your position, try to land strikes, going for submissions. And as you say, Nascimento did not do a whole lot on top. He didn't do that much for top position.
He advanced his position in order to stop the other guy hitting him effectively. That was it. He made himself safe. And fair enough, you're showing ground control there, but fucking hell.
I mean,
it stinks out a fight card, that kind of patter. It really does. For me, totally stinks out a card.
I've seen a lot more egregious decisions. I did think it was a close fight.
It's not quite a Bellator wrestle fucker, but it's not far off it.
Did not agree with it. But nevertheless, when it comes down to it, like, Bowser, I mean, he can be miffed at the judges, but at the same time, he can only really blame himself. Like, he's put himself in there with a guy that's way bigger than him. He's agreed to take the fight, and then he's been in these situations with the grappling, and he's not been able to get up quick enough. So either he needs to be bigger, or he needs to be better at defending takedowns and or getting back up to your feet from a takedown. So,
true.
You know what I mean? He's got stuff he can go away and work on, and if he's pissed off at the decision, then he needs to use that as fuel to to come back better, I guess. I mean, there's scope for him to like add muscle mass to his frame. And I know he's been asked in interviews about going down to light heavyweight, and he's no interested in the slightest. He's got no desire to cut weight, which is fine. It's fair enough. And he's big enough, but he's going to have to put some muscle mass on, I think. No, not so much put muscle mass on, but he needs to get his strength way up to compensate for the weight that he's gained, to the weight advantage he's given to opponents. But anyway, I do like him, man. He seems like a cool guy, and great mullet, fun fighter. So all the best. Hope he gets better. Moving on, another quick one. Joe Pyfer defeating Alan Amadovsky. Big KO in the first round for Pyfer. Well,
it was
TKO. It says KO, but I disagree with that. I would say it's TKO. It was just a kind of lazy left hook. Lazy left uppercut, opening up the guard and setting up a straight right. Drops him with a straight right. Amadovsky's looking up, thinking, "What the hell just happened?" And then Pyfer lands another punch just to be sure.
Where am I? Who am I? Effectively.
He was in quite the vulnerable position, the way he was kind of sat down and had his hands on the canvas. He wasn't trying to defend himself. He was just like propping himself up and just looking up like, what?
I think he was done then, wasn't he? Am I fine? He had that kind of look about him,
So I mean, Pyfer came in with some hype on him. He's a guy that came from Dana White's Contender Series. I think he'd won by knockout in his fight on the Contender Series, so he was looking, like he had a bit of promise about him. And it was a case of can he pull out a big performance in his UFC debut and sort of live up to the hype, and he did. I don't know much about Amadovsky, so I can't really say like what kind of level that a competition that is for Pyfer. He's probably got a ways to go in terms of climbing up the rankings, but it definitely seems to have some hype about him. And an interesting story. Again, I don't know enough about it to really talk much about it, but he seems to have had a bit of a kind of hellish background. I think there was like kind of childhood issues. I don't know. I'm not quite sure if it was sort of marital or whatever with his parents, or if there was abuse or what. I don't want to comment too much on it because I'm not sure on the story, but there's something going on that ultimately led to him being homeless at one point in time. And then he's found his way into competing in MMA or training and competing in MMA, and like I think living in gyms and stuff to kind of make his way through the ranks. And then he mentioned that after the Contender Series, Dana White gave him a bonus off the books to allow him to like get himself somewhere to stay and stuff, so as he could keep training and get prepped for his debut. Also, interesting thing with this fight, one of Pfeiffer's coaches is Ray Seffo. Ray Seffo's like his head striking coach.
Oh, yes.
Ray Seffo is the CEO of the PFL. So it was kind of interesting that Seffo was cornering Pfeiffer at the UFC when he's the current CEO for I guess you could call them a rival promotion in a way they are. It's quite an interesting thing, I thought.
It definitely is.
It's cool that Seffo is still an active coach. I wasn't sure that he was still coaching. I know I've seen pictures of him like in the gym and stuff, so I figured he was still training, but I didn't know he was still coaching. So that's pretty cool. Right. Andre Fili versus Bill Algeo. We had a wee bit of debate last week about was it Bill Algeo or was it Lando Venata? MMA fighting, again letting me down. It was indeed Bill Algeo that was in this fight versus Andre Fili. Nevertheless, split decision win for Andre Fili. Not really a kind of sort of highlight reel type of performance for Fili. Wasn't necessarily his best effort, but then I suppose some of that's down to Bill Algeo, like he put in a good performance himself.
I thought it was a very close fight.
And ultimately, that's what I was going to say, man. Ultimately, a very, very close fight came out it. Split decision, as I say, and I'd have to go and watch it again. I don't know how I feel about that fight. I don't know if the right guy won or not. I'm not sure.
I think because the third round he had his back for because Fili had his back for so long. But then it's the first time I've ever seen somebody fight so brilliantly with somebody literally on their back. Like he was genuinely. I don't know how you lay into somebody who's behind you.
It was a like very weird sort
of position. The way
Algeo
did, where he was thrown over his own shoulder.
Yep. It was strange.
I mean, he burst them open.
Aye, it was strange to me. It was very strange to me that Fili stayed there and took the shots. He has the dominant position. He should be able to move and avoid these strikes and look to tie up Algeo in a way that, okay, maybe he can't quite lock in the submission because he's having to hold his arms or whatever, but he's stopping the strikes. But yeah, he's just lying there taking unanswered punches.
And it was like about 15 punches right to the dome,
strange.
Man. Like, I mean, it made for an exciting exchange, like, on the ground. And an unusual end to a fight.
I kind of wonder if it was kind of fitness related in a way, because Fili had the neck. He had the choke fully locked in at one point. Algeo defended it. The rear naked choke, obviously, I should say. Algeo defended it and peeled off the top hand, but Fili still had the choke in place just with the one arm. So he had his arm wrapped around his neck for a considerable amount of time, but Algeo never for one moment looked like he was in danger of getting choked out.
No.
And it was just odd, and then he's just lying there taking punches. So I'm wondering if like Fili was starting to gas out, and so like he didn't have the energy
so
to
much
squeeze
work to try and get this
choke anymore. And at the same time didn't have much energy for moving and defending the strikes. So he was just like, they're not going to stop. Like, you know, like, I can take these, it's all right.
Aye.
So he just took them. It was weird.
It was an interesting fight. He had a bit of a bad week by the sounds as well. Did you catch his post-fight kind of part?
I did not. I skipped that one.
So he kind of said that him and his partner had lost a baby due to a miscarriage. I know it's been a bit of a bad news week for a few of these fighters.
Fuck, man.
Sadly. But he kind of welled up and nearly lost his emotions a wee bit.
Right. Well, I mean,
just kind of post-fight in the octagon.
That in itself explains it, because he's obviously going to be emotionally numb after something like that. That explains why he's just lying there like taking punishment, and he's getting no desire to do anything about it.
It definitely looked like a kind of weightlifted all from once it finished and he found out he'd won. Like, you could definitely see him kind of...
It's a shame, man.
Sagged down with it all, like, post-fight. Like, obviously, that was him kind of coming round to being upset about it, because I suppose how you prepare for fights when bad shit happens in your personal life, like, you must have to just turn off a bit of your brain and think, definitely. I'll get upset about this in my own time, but I can't either now. Like, it must be a hell of a lot of mental management.
I
you
know,
have to do,
like,
kind of compartmentalising.
something I've kind of found myself in the past, and like plenty of folk have said it, like when sort of tragedy strikes and somebody passes on, then one of the kind of best things that you can usually do in terms of your mental health is just get back to your normal life, just go to work.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to be yourself. You're not going to be yourself. You're going to be a bit depressed, and you might snap at people, or you might kind of break down at times. Different things might happen. I mean, what's the saying? Your mileage may vary, but just trying to get yourself back into the routine helps to kind of slowly pull yourself out the funk and deal with the grief and the emotion. So, I mean, I don't know where I'm going with this. I suppose that
fucking no easy. I think it's
that's
effectively.
Like, so I can
moral of the story.
I can see why they would fling themselves into training, but going through with the fight, like when you're no of sort of sound mind, like it cannot be easy. So, but just in time to save us for the depressive stories. What a hell of a co-main event we had between Gregory Rodriguez and Chidi Bang Bang Njokuani.
Sweet hairy Christ, that
Robocop versus the wee funny car. Great first round for Chidi. Chidi Njokuani he's so talented. He's got so much power. The future is still bright for him even after this fight, but ultimately a second round TKO win for Rodriguez. Robocop, despite having exposed skull, was able to win this fight somehow.
Aye, that was the knee caught flush on his forehead, man. For Njokuani, absolutely flush.
Yep.
And I don't know how the guy's standing beyond that. Like, the fact that he continues a fight and wins is fucking. It's a superhuman ability to ignore how sore that must have been. Like, I mean, a deep cut, it stings like a motherfucker. It's already distracting you, but a cut that is as deep as his face nearly opened up like Pac-Man's mouth, man. That's what it was like. That's what was happening to that man's face. But he continues an MMA fight in which more damage could be done to his head. I'm speechless at it, man. And all the more speechless that he ends up being the winner. Like, as Njokuani just laid down in the end and went, fuck it again, I've broke the guy's face and he will not stop coming, I'm done.
It kind of seemed like it was a matter of Njokuani's will being broken. Like he's just lying there thinking, like, well, what else could I have done? Like,
I've beheaded this man and he's still coming.
I don't know what to do. Robocop is just, I mean, that fight name is very apt because he's like a bloody robot, man. Like, he's emotionless, fearless.
It's like Michael fucking Myers.
Oh, ridiculous.
It's unbelievable.
Yep.
Just plodding after you like a flaming monster.
Yep.
No matter what you do to him.
Face like Michael he's been hacked at with a machete and still just plodding forward, swinging haymakers. Crazy, man.
I was watching at the time and I thought he's got 2 minutes to win this because the minute he gets to his corner, this is done. I'm amazed to get let back out.
The doctor that they had at ringside, by the way, he just, because obviously there was the cut in this fight, and then there was the cut in the main event that we'll come to. Song Yudong get caught open quite bad, and the doctor's just like saying to the ref, like, if they check the cuts, and he's just like, it looks pretty nasty, but I mean, if you're alright to let them fight, just go for it, keep an eye on it. Like, the doctor's like giving no shit.
Just a flesh wound. John Cleese is the Black Knight as the doctor.
Usually
it's a flesh wound.
Usually ringside doctors are like twats in a way because they don't care about the fight and the fans and the money and whatever. Like, they're just looking at it as like, oh, this guy's injured and needs medical attention, please stop the fight.
Hippocratic oath.
Aye. Which, I mean, fair play to them. Like, I'm not going to bag on them for that, but as a fight fan, that's not what you want. You want the fight to continue. It was kind of shocking to me in a way to have a ringside doctor just like nonchalant with it, be like, I don't like the look, it's pretty bad, but if you're alright with it, ref, carry on.
I think I guess because he's like, it's not life threatening or anything like that, life changing. So just let him fight. I think he looked at it as not as bad as what you think it is. Because like there was no like massive amounts of blood coming out. Like there was, like, you know what I mean?
That's a fair point. Like there was the initial kind of spillage of blood, if you will, that poured down his face for the initial cut, but then after first round and the cut man getting about it, he did quite a good job of stemming the bleeding, and so it wasn't too bad until the fight, basically the finishing sequence. That's when it had started to open up and pour again. So you had that kind of first minute-ish the second round where it wasn't actually bothering them too much. And I think in a way he's kind of locked out. Like it was a hell of a cut, but it was right in the middle, his forehead, like between the eyebrows. So the blood's pouring like down his nose, and his nose is kind of funneling it away for the eyes to a degree. So if Chiddy had put him on his back and he's on the ground lying on his back, then that blood's going to pool in his eyes and it's going to be a problem. But standing up, most of the blood's running away for his eyes, which is kind of good for him. Like if the cut's to one side, the blood's going straight into his eye, then he's blind in that eye.
Does Chiddy get it tactically wrong in the second round? We know dragging him to the ground and grinding all over the top of him.
No,
should just kept punching him in a cut.
No. But see, the thing is, RoboCop's actually a grappler. First, he's a BJJ guy.
Okay,
so that would be a bad move. It just so happens that he's part fucking cyborg and he's able to.
He also has ability in his feet.
So I mean, just look at that finishing sequence. So they get in the clinch position against the cage. Rodriguez, RoboCop, he gets an underhook with his left arm and he gets a hold of the head, Enj Kawani, and then he just violently throws him with a hip toss. Like there's no judo in that. That is just brute strength and violence.
Muscling him.
And he throws him to the floor and then gets on top of him and TKOs him. And then Chiddy is like, he's a big, strong guy. So for Rodriguez to do that is impressive. I mean, obviously he's beat the brakes off him and there's the mental side and everything else, but even still, like physically, that's an impressive thing to do, to be able to throw him down like that. He's a good grappler. I think what Chiddy probably could have been doing in the second round is sticking and moving. He had like a 4 or 5 inch reach advantage. He should have been just nailing him with a jab, using that big cut between the eyebrows as a target and staying on the outside, jab, jab, jab all day long. That once that cut gets bad enough, either the ref is stepping in to stop it and have the cut checked again, or RoboCop gets to the point where he's blind, effectively, and then Chiddy can land the bigger shots and push for a finish. So I think that's probably the tactics that he should have been going for second round. No getting himself involved with clinching and stuff, but then at the same time he would have been getting tired and stuff as well because he had a big first round. I'd imagine it would have been a big adrenaline dump with some of the shots that he was landing and getting close to finishing the fight and stuff. So, but nonetheless, it was really good, man. I really enjoyed that fight.
Epic.
That was the fight I was looking forward to the most because I just had a feeling it was going to go something like that. I thought Chiddy was going to get the win. I thought he had the power to put RoboCop away, but I'm kind of wondering now if anybody can. I feel like he can maybe take. He might be the one man on this planet that can take a punch for Ngannou.
Walk through it, man.
He's unreal. So, main event time. Corey Sandhagen versus Song Yadong. Basically, strength and power versus speed and footwork, agility. Ultimately, a TKO doctor's stoppage due to, funnily enough, a cut. So it went to round. Well, it almost went to round 5. It was like between 4th and 5th rounds. The doctor had decided the cut was getting bad enough, and basically Song Yadong's left eye was closing up with swelling, and his left eyebrow was like flapping down over his eye.
Oh,
it was pretty horrible. So it was a very fair stoppage. And Song Yadong didn't protest it at all because he knew that he couldn't see out that eye anymore.
Aye, I mean, you saw that with post-fight, didn't you, mate?
Yeah.
He's saying, I can't see.
Aye, he went straight up to
honestly admitting it.
Aye, so when the result was announced, Corey Sandhagen kind of fell to his knees and he was disappointed that he didn't get to finish the fight out properly and it was stopped by a cut. And Song Yadong was straight over to him saying, don't worry about it. I can't see anything out this eye. You did good, man. You won. Take it. Because it was I want to say in the second round, Sandhagen stepped in with a left elbow that opened up the cut. It was just a really good performance for Corey Sandhagen. He wasn't dominating the fight in any way, but he was just that wee bit faster and that wee bit better at moving and the footwork, and it was good shot selection, landing kicks, landing punches, landing elbows, just doing that wee bit more each time to kind of outwork Song Yadong, and I think he would have comfortably won a decision. It went the distance, but aye, he opened up that cut, and that was it.
It was all she wrote.
Aye. It's a good fight, though.
It was a fun fight. It was a good main event. Enjoyed it.
You know, when we were talking about the doctor and stuff like that, I watched something with what's his name, Stitch.
Stitch Duran.
Stitch Duran.
Roberto Stitch Duran.
I don't know if I sent you it, but I think I did. I don't know.
I remember seeing something. I didn't get around to watching it.
Aye. It's a quick 10-15 minute video, but it was really interesting to see him talk about the job and doing the job and the stuff that he used, the cornermen use and stuff.
Right.
But also it was interesting that he said one of the things is you need to know as a cornerman is or a stitch man, you need to know the rules. If you know the rules, you can win a fight or a fight by stopping the fight. I think he explained on one of the times he knew that his fighter was winning on the card, and I don't know if it was an accidental cut or whatever it was. So he just told the ref the guy can't continue because of the cut, and then obviously it goes to decision. It goes to the judge's cards.
Right.
So he said he's won a couple of fighters' fights today. I was like, smart. Because he knew the rules.
Was he talking about boxing in that case?
I'm not sure if it was boxing or MMA wanted. I don't know.
Right.
Bye.
Usually, if a fight's stopped by a cut in MMA, then that would mean that it's a TKO win for the guy that caused the cut. So,
no, but I think he was saying if it was an accidental, something like.
Well, if it was an illegal strike that caused the cut, like an accidental headbutt.
I think that's what it was.
Right. Okay. Right.
And he said the fighter could have continued. I could have stitched them up, but I told I told the ref that he can't continue. Right. And he said that's how he's won a few fighters' fights like that. Right. It's sneaky. But it was interesting.
He's got some great stories to stitch. He's a guy that's been around for years. I think he's did 30, 40 years as a cut man. He's been ringside for some of the biggest fights in boxing and MMA. There's a lot of the kind of top fighters over the years across both sports that have and kickboxing as well, I believe. There's a lot of the top fighters have requested him to be there to go and be their personal cut man. He's worked for companies he worked for the UFC for a long time, and so the UFC would just assign him to various fighters through the night. They would say, right, you're working this fight. You're cornering, you're in the blue corner or whatever it would be. But then he's also been paid to go out and be the personal cut man for insert fighter name here, kind of thing. I believe he did the what did you call them? What's their name? The Ukrainian
Klitschko brothers.
That's Klitschko's. I believe he did the Klitschko brothers. I think he worked with Mike Tyson at one point in time.
Mike Tyson,
a lot of big
Klitschko's. I think he was saying Brock Lesnar.
In MMA, Brock Lesnar always requested to work with
him. He had him.
There's a few.
It's interesting. Like, so he was saying because he obviously he had the Klitschko brothers, and when Brock came into the UFC and he tried to put the gloves on, the gloves had burst.
Right.
So it got to the point. He said that literally it was like they were going to call off the fight, I believe, because the gloves wouldn't fit, and obviously you have to have the gloves.
Yep.
So he basically he remembered the Klitschko's and that he had to like, just fucking smash Vaseline all over his hands and that to get him into the gloves. Aye. Because his hands are so massive.
It's a random tidbit of information, but like the UFC had to get their glove supplier to start making a bigger size of glove after Brock Lesnar came about, because he was the first guy where the biggest size that they previously had didn't fit him. Like there was guys before that had big hands that kind of struggled to get in the glove, but they could get away with it. Whereas like the gloves just didn't fit Lesnar. He just had absolute lunchbox hands. Anyway,
shows.
Thanks for story time with Uncle Harvey. Moving on now. We'll quickly look ahead to Bellator next week. So the main event is Benson Henderson versus Peter Queally. But that's not what I want to talk about. The co-main event of the night is Melvin Manoff, legend across kickboxing and MMA, taking on the one and only Jesus' favourite son, Yoel Romero.
Yoel Romero. Man, it's made of stone.
Granite. I'm very much looking forward to that fight. That will be very interesting, man. Romero's going to be considerably bigger than Manoff. Melvin Manoff is not a big man, but he has fought at heavyweight in the past as Melvin Manoff, and he's beat guys like Mark Hunt. He's knocked Mark Hunt out in kickboxing. No, MMA? I think it was MMA. I think it was 4K1, which was primarily a kickboxing organisation, but I think it was an MMA fight. In fact, do you know what? I think it was when Pride did their cross promotion with K1 back in the day. Anyway,
right.
nobody's probably caring about that. So, just take my word on it that Melvin Manoff is a absolute badass who's been about for years, and he hits like an absolute tank. He's got some serious punching power. He's very punching power. He's very fast and explosive, and Yoel Romero is obviously just insane. Makes no sense as a human. So I'm really looking forward to that. We've also got Lee McCourt on the card. She's taking on Diana Silva. And that's about there's some Irish names and stuff on there. Mads Burnell, Pedro Carvalho, that'll probably be decent. But I mean, it's Bellator. Like, more often than not, you get fun fights, but I mean, you'd have to be a diehard to know half the fighters on the card. So that's what it is. So that is next Saturday. Can't speak. Any final thoughts, lads?
No, sir.
I'm all good, mate.
Fair play. So,
I bet I think the
fucking he can't help it. It's like a fucking need. He needs to do it. He needs to wait for you to start the sentence before he does it.
Pretty sure I asked if you had any final thoughts, are we?
It's like Father Dougal with that big red button in the cockpit and Father Ted. He's just staring at it. Don't push that button, Dougal.
But you see, I started talking before he started talking, so...
Not on my end. Maybe there was some...
Not on my end.
Maybe there was a wee bit of lag in your end. Anyway, what would you like to say? And he's forgot. Would you look at
No, I've not forgot. So I say we've got to have to start calling Robocop Shiva now. Is it Shiva? Third eye? The one with the third eye? Do you know Shiva?
I am aware, yes. I get the reference.
The third eye. Okay.
Oh, third eye, right, of course.
Third eye.
Fair play.
That was well worth the interruption. Thank you very much.
It was.
Jokes are always best when you're going to explain them.
Right. If you have been, thank you very much for listening. As always, I have been Mick and they have been Harvey and Paul. We've had a good time. Hope you have too. See you again next week. Cheery bye, driver.
Bye.
Bye, driver.